As I've already talked about the methods and classes in the other screencast videos, I'll now run through a quick demo of running the actual program. So here I have the My Server class. I'll start that up, and as you can see, the server is waiting for a connection on port 5001. So that's the server class, and this is just a little print line statement showing that it's working. The login class here, I'll just close those. The login class I'll run now. So you get a little welcome message, and you're asked for the name of the server. Since I'm just running this on my own machine, I can press enter, and it will default to localhost, and it automatically uses the port 5001. So we're given an option here to log in with an existing account or create an account. So I'll log in with an existing account, and I can use the account AAA, or sorry, 5 for input. Enter username AAA, 111 is the password, and I'm given an option, so I can display messages with 1, but as there's no messages in the account yet, there's nothing to display. So I can go send message by pressing 2. I'll send the message. I'm given a little thing saying that I can send a message, and I can use comma as a separator to send it people. So I'll send a message to myself, account BBB and CCC and ZZZ, just so you can see that Z will be a failed recipient since the account doesn't exist. And now I enter the message text that I want. This is my message, and press enter to send it, and I get a message saying that it's sending the message, and it failed to send to one recipient, which was ZZZ, as that account does not exist. So I can now go press 1 to display messages, and it will return the message that I've just sent to myself. So this just hops over here just so you can see the server, and these are some of the messages that it has printed out. So it checked messages, cleared them since it sent messages to me, and I view them so it erases them, and then I sent a message to the server. So from the server's point of view, it received a message, and I click there to check the messages, and since I've received them, it has also cleared them from the server's database. So if I click back to the client here, we can see this is the message that I sent to myself just a moment ago, and this is all the people that has been sent to, and it's from AAA, which is myself, and the timestamp and the message. So if I click display message again, it will display nothing since I've already received the message up here. So if I create another user or client account to log in with, I'll log into account, an existing account, which will be BBB222, and it's just so I can see that a message has been sent to me, which is now, as you can see here, the message has been sent to BBB, and you can see it was also sent to these people as well. So if I click here and I go, I want to send a message to AAA now, and say I got your message, and that's now sent to AAA. So if I click back to AAA again, this is AAA, so I'll go display messages, and this is the message that is I just sent from account BBB. So that is basically how this works, and I'll just press 3 there to exit, and the server just says that I have exited there. So I'll just create another account here, and I'll show you how I can create an account for a new person. So sorry, that just flicks back to the server there. So I'll create a new account, and I'll call it DDD444, and as you can see, the message here said that the account has been created. So I can send a message then to BBB, or sorry, send message to BBB, and hi, I'm DDD. So if I click back, that message has then been sent. So if I click back to BBB here, I can go display messages. This is account B now, and I go this, and this has been sent from DDD, as you can see. So I'll just close those, and I'll kind of skip through the code a little bit and just show you some of the protocols that have been there. So the protocols mainly exist between the server thread and the login. There's a small bit on the server here where it's just accepting the connection port, and it passes the sockets here into the connection. So on the server is basically always waiting for commands to come from the client, and when the server receives a command from the client, it will carry out the command. So here we have this is what happens when the thread runs. So while a user is not logged in, this loop will continue to be carried out and repeated until a user has been logged in. So they can be logged in by logging in with an existing account or creating a new user. So the protocol is that we wait for a message to be received, which happens on the client side here. Sorry, I just need to go up the top here. So when the client gets their message to log in, and they connect to localhost, and the connection request is made, and this is what happens then. They get displayed a little starting menu, and they get told that they can create a new user or log in as an existing user. So depending on which option they select, if they select create a new user, the protocols are slightly different for each command that is given. So create user will be slightly different than logging in as an existing user. So I'll just go with the create user for now, just to give a basic intro to how the protocol works. So when they when the client inputs whichever number it is to create a user, that then comes down to the create user method, which is here. So the input streams are set up so that they can read from the keyboard. So this is where we send across a message to the server saying that we want to add a new user, which in this case is the number 6. As we can see here, the number 6 is sent across to the server. So the server receives the number, it enters this, it first changes the value of this string to an integer, and as we can see here, add new user is also number 6, so it will carry out the add new user method, and the response is then put into that boolean. But if I go down to this add new user method, so just let me find it here, add new user. So then once we get the command to add a new user, we're then waiting for 2 inputs, which is our protocol, 2 inputs from the client, which will be our username and password. And as we can see here, we're getting the username and the password from the client, and then we send these over to the server, and then we're waiting from a message back from the server to make sure that the new user was actually created. So as we see here, we say we're doing checks to make sure that a username and password were actually entered, and then we create a new user with that, with the new username and password. And here we enter synchronized, because this is an object that's has the potential to be accessed by multiple clients at once, so we need to have concurrency control on that. So we have logged in. We then add the new user to the user base, and if it's added correctly, because this returns a value of true or false, it'll return true if the user was added and false if they were not. So if they were successfully added, we will then say that the user is logged in so that they can then escape the try catch block up here that says they have been successfully logged in, so now they can get to the main program logic. So here we have that they received the message that was sent by the thread to see that the account was actually created, and here we do a check if the new user was successfully created, which will return a value of 1. So we say that the new user has been created, they've been logged in, and we exit this user out of the while loops as well by saying that create new user is false so that they can exit that loop, and we also say that they were logged in so that they can exit the other loop as well, and we set up the current user's details. So here we see if we go back up, by changing those Boolean values, the user can exit this do loop because the new user was created, and as they are logged in, they will be able to enter this loop until they are logged out. Or, sorry, not that loop. They'll enter this loop since they're now logged in. This loop will be skipped and only used by a user who selects that they need to log in. And that is the basics of the create user. For every option that the client can select from the menus, there is basically a separate protocol for each of those menus, and they had to be set up carefully between the client and the server's code so that their send and receive options would both match each other. So when a client is sending something, the server has to be ready to receive it, and then they have to have protocols set up to say when those would end, and then they would begin a new menu option so that the user can select many options and not just stuck with the one basic option, which is where the server has these case statements. So when they send like number 1, that option will happen, or number 2, that option will happen. On the server side, several of the methods, blocks of code had to be synchronized, such as here, this is when messages are being checked and sent back to the client when they want to receive their messages. So this is synchronized because potentially other clients could be sending messages to this user. So we want to block or restrict access to this piece of code while messages are being sent, so that only the number of messages that we are sending back to the client are going to be sent, and not have multiple other messages possibly going into the user's account while they're being sent over, which will cause a slight error to happen. There's another piece of code here, and this is also synchronized when a user is being added to the database. And one final piece of code when messages are being received, it's also synchronized so that messages don't overwrite each other. And XML, just one last point was, the message could have been sent in various formats, but we chose an XML format as it's relatively simple to use. It's easily readable to check for errors and things like that, and it kind of meant that less protocols had to be set up of when to receive parts of the message, since we could just send the entire message as an XML string, and that could be parsed easily on both the client and the server side. And that completes my screencast for